Welcome back, and thank you for joining me again for another session on learning about the forms of tenses. My name is Electoli, Faculty of English at Edufy Institute, and today we're going to continue from the last topic that we discussed earlier on in my previous video regarding tenses. So, in the previous video, we discussed about the present tense. Today, we're going to talk about past tense. And what are the various forms of past tense? The simple explanation or the simple definition of a past tense is just the fact that it is talking about actions that is in the past. So what I mean by that is actions that have been completed will be understood as past tense. And through past tense, we understand the time of the action as well. So how do we understand the forms of various forms of past tense? The first and foremost is the very easy one, that is the simple past tense. The first form of past tense is simple past tense. What does it signify? What does a simple past tense signify? It tells us about a completed action or event that has happened at a specific time in the past. That means actions that have been completed at a specific time in the past. So all the actions when we talk about past tense will have been completed. That means completed actions will be talked about when we talk about past tense. And if you want to look at the structure, the main important thing is the structure when we talk about tenses. So therefore, the first structure of simple past tense is we have the subject, then the past tense verb, which means the past participle form of the verb. We know verbs are action words, right? Action words that signifies actions being performed. Words such as play becomes played, sing becomes sang, dance becomes danced. So all of these words are considered as verbs, and therefore the past tense of those verbs will be written in the simple past tense form. Now similarly, when I say past tense form, that means we have regular and irregular verbs as well. Regular verb is when we have a tense or when we have a word, action word, such as, let's say, so when we change this into past tense, we write played, which is a regular verb. How do we know that? Because we have kept the main word the same, just added ed to the word and therefore made it past tense. However, if I write the word buy, which is an action word, and if I have to write this in the past tense, I will have to write bought. So what has happened to this word? It has completely changed. That means the word has transformed completely. You do not add ed or es or any other participle to this word, but rather we have changed the word completely. This word is known as an irregular verb. So irregular verbs and regular verbs will be used to denote a past tense verb in the past form, that is simple past form. Let's look at some of the examples here. I visited Paris last year. In this sentence, the subject is the word I. I is the subject, then visited is the action word. Now in this action word, we see that the word visit is the main word and ed has been added to make it the past tense of that verb. So structurally, this is a simple past tense. And again, if we look at the definition also, I visited Paris last year talks about an action that has been performed and completed at a specific time, which is last year. So this one will be considered as simple past tense. If we move forward into the next example, we also see the same. She is the subject, bought is the past participle form of the verb. Then a new phone yesterday has been written here. So we see that her action of buying the phone has been completed yesterday, and the action of bought is an irregular verb here, as you can see through this example. In the third example as well, we see the word they as the subject. We're talking about them, so therefore it is a subject along with the verb in what? Past form. So therefore, this one is a simple past tense. If we look at the structure, this is the basic structure, and if we also understand the definition, we can easily identify what the tense of the sentence is and whether it is the simple past tense as well. Now, when we move forward, we also find another form of the tense, that is the past continuous tense. Let's look at the definition. A past continuous tense is used to describe an action that was in progress at a specific time in the past. That means the action is completed, it has happened in the past. It has no relation with the present. But the main thing is it was continuing in the past. So therefore, in this type of tenses, we use the subject plus the auxiliary verb was or were. According to the singularity or plurality of the subject, we use was or were. If the subject is singular, we use was. If the subject is plural, we use were. Therefore, we have the subject plus was or were, and then the verb in what form? Ing form. Mainly because it is a continuous tense. Whether it's in the present or whether it's in the past, a continuous tense will always have a verb in the ing form. That is, the main verb will be in the ing form. The main changes you will notice will be in the auxiliary verbs. That is, was, were will be there in past continuous, has or have will be in the present continuous form. So let's look at the examples here, shall we? I was studying when the power went out. I is the subject in the sentence, very much similar to the structure here, right? I is there, plus since the subject is I, it's singular, so therefore the verb used, auxiliary verb used will be was. I was, the verb in what form? Ing form, studying. Now this sentence talks about the action that was performed in the past when the power went out. So there, that means an action that was continuously happening in the past when it was completed. Next, they were watching a movie at 9 p.m. So their action of watching the movie happened in the past at 9 p.m., a few hours ago probably. So when you see that, when you see this type of sentences, it is talking about actions that have been completed in the past, but rather continuing. It is completed, and we're talking about it in the past form, but it was a continuous action. So therefore, we have the subject, they, along with the auxiliary verb were. As mentioned earlier, they is a plural subject, therefore the auxiliary verb used will be were. They were watching, verb in the ing form. So what will it be? It will be past continuous tense. Last example as well. She was cooking dinner while he was setting the table. If you look at this, we see the structure here again. She is the subject, was has been written along with the verb in ing form. So what is this? Past continuous tense. All of this is very simple, and if you understand the concept and the structure, it will become very easy for you to identify what is past continuous tense. Let's move forward to past perfect tense. Past perfect tense shows that one past action happened right before another past action or time. This means that whenever we talk about a past perfect tense, an action in the past perfect tense, that means an action has happened, has been completed, and right after that another action occurs or in time. So what we have to see, often used with the word before, after, or when. Remember this one, whenever we have past perfect continuous, past perfect tense, we will have before, after, or when with those type of sentences, just to show us that some action has been completed before another action occurs. So in the structure of a past perfect tense, we have the subject plus the word had. The auxiliary verb here changes to the word had, and then it will be the past participle form of the verb as discussed in the earlier, that is simple past tense. We understood what is the past tense, right? Past verb. So that will be used here when we talk about past perfect tense. For example, she is the subject, plus we use the auxiliary verb had, left before our I arrived. So what we see here is two actions being denoted in the sentence, that is left and arrived. Now left is showing us an action that has happened already right before another action happened, that is arrived. So this is a past perfect tense. So according to the definition, this is clear, right? If we look at the structure again, we have the subject she along with the auxiliary verb had, plus left is the past participle form of the verb, right? So this one again, according to the structure, it becomes the past perfect tense. Please remember this. If you understand the structure, the identification of tenses becomes much more easier. If you look at this again, the second sentence, they is the subject, had will be the auxiliary verb used since we're talking about past perfect tense, then the verb is in the past participle form. This is clear according to the structure that this is a past perfect tense. Again, if you read the sentence properly, you will see that they had finished dinner when the guests came. So the word when is showing us that the guests came. When? When they had finished the dinner. So consecutive actions are being denoted in the sentence. That means one action has completed before another action was completed. So therefore this one also is understood as past perfect tense. I hope this is clear. So we will move on to the next part, that is the past perfect continuous tense. Now what is the definition of a past perfect continuous tense? It describes a past action that started and continued. Very important. A past action that started and continued up to another point in the past focuses on the duration or continuity of the action. So when we say past perfect continuous tense, it tends to become very complicated in the definition itself, where I have to tell you what is this. It means a past action that is continuing, but then it has finished at certain point in time, right? So according to that, if we look at the structure, we see the subject plus had been will be added. Again, the verb will change to ing form because it's again continuous. So therefore, we had the combination of perfect, had, along with verb in ing form, but the main addition to this is had been, B-E-E-N, been. And according to that, we will understand the definition as well. Let's take a look at the first example. He had been working at the company for 5 years before he quit. So what do we see here? We see a continuity of an action. How long had he been working? So working shows the continuity of the action. For how long? For 5 years. Now that action has been completed and done. Therefore, we understand that as past tense. But the action was continuing for how many years? 5 years. So it's again a past perfect continuous tense. But if we look at the structure, once again, you can, identify them through the structure. Try to structuralize the main sentence here. He is the subject plus the word had been used here, right, according to the structure, and then the verb in ing form. So what is this? A past perfect continuous tense. If you look at the structure, it's very simple. If you're unable to understand the definition also, if you remember the structure, it will become very easy to understand what is past perfect continuous tense. If you take a look at the second structure again, we is the subject here, had been has been used, and then waiting is being used here in the sentence. We had been waiting for an hour when the bus finally came. So their action was completed. They had been waiting for the bus. So it's completed action, but it was a continuous action again. So therefore, this is a past perfect continuous tense, and structurally also this can be considered or should be considered as past perfect continuous tense. If you look at the last line, the last example, I hope you can see the structure again. Subject plus had been plus verb in ing form. So what is this? This is again a past perfect continuous tense. If you look at the sentence completely, you have the sentence, she had been studying all night before the exam. So again, you will find words like before, when, like this in this type of sentences as well, because it's talking about a continuity of an action that follows another action or is following another action. Let's revise whatever we have discussed today. There will be four forms of past tense. We understand past tense as what? actions that have been completed. And therefore, the four forms are simple past tense, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous tense. Simple past talks about a completed action. Past continuous talks about ongoing actions in the past. Past perfect tense talks about earlier of two past actions. That means and consecutive actions happening together, but completed actions. Again, past perfect continuous tenses talks about ongoing actions up to a past point. That means a consecutive action, again similar to past perfect, but it is a continuous action that was performed in the past. So all of this you can see through the examples. I met her last week. Here we have the subject I, and according to the structure, if you remember the structure, I will show you this. I is the subject plus this is the past form of the verb. What will this be? A simple past tense. If we have a subject plus the auxiliary verb was or were and the verb in what form? Ing form. What will this be? A past continuous tense. Then we have the subject he plus had plus the verb in what form? Past participle form. Therefore, it will be past perfect tense. Again, if we look at another structure, she is the subject, had, been has been added, plus the working, ing form of the verb. This one will be considered as a past perfect continuous tense. So through this, I hope you've understood everything that we have to know about past tenses and the different forms of past tenses. Thank you again for joining me. As we all know, another form of tenses is waiting for us. So till then, have a nice day and join me again for another class. Thank you.